Many veterans suffer from sleep apnea caused by obesity, whether they know it or not. And recent developments have made it possible for veterans to service connect their obesity. So today we'll talk about how you can use that new law and some medical science to help you get the compensation benefits you deserve for your sleep apnea caused by your obesity, and why it's important to do so as soon as possible. Don't go anywhere. We're going to get started right now. Today, we're diving into a topic that could be a game changer for thousands of veterans struggling with sleep apnea. As you may well know, VA often denies sleep apnea claims because there is no evidence in the veteran service records that they suffered sleep apnea during their service. And let's face it, why would there be? It's a disorder that happens when you're asleep. Unless you have an out-of-body experience, it's unlikely that you even knew that you had sleep apnea or that anything was wrong. You just wake up and go about your day completely unaware of what happened overnight. But for many veterans, their sleep apnea is often discovered after the fact. And of course, that makes it a little bit more complicated for VA to establish service connection, because the veteran would need to show either that they had the condition during service and symptoms of it since service, or that some other disability caused by service also caused or aggravated their sleep apnea. Again, the veteran may not even know they suffer from it for many years after service. Again, because it happens while they're asleep. That's the very nature of it. And that's where obesity comes into the picture and may actually simplify things for veterans who suffer obesity because of another service-connected disability. That's where a recent change in law comes into play, the Adams v. Collins case. For those of you who missed my detailed breakdown of Adams v. Collins a few episodes ago, here's a quick recap of what you need to know for today's discussion. Historically, VA refused to consider obesity to be a disability, and so would not grant disability compensation for it. But in July 2025, the U.S. Court of Appeals for Veterans Claims told the VA to stop categorically denying obesity claims. The court said that if an obesity was caused or aggravated by another service-connected condition, and that obesity causes functional impairment of earning capacity, then VA must grant disability compensation for it. Now, here's why this is huge for sleep apnea claims. Sleep apnea is one of the most common, well-documented consequences of obesity. We're talking about a medically established pathway from service-connected conditions to obesity and then to sleep apnea. And because of Adams, you can be compensated by VA at each of those steps, including for obesity. That's your legal foundation. If you want the full deep dive on Adams v. Collins, go back and listen to that episode. But today we're focusing on the money, how to use Adams to get your sleep apnea service connected, and what that means for your monthly compensation. Here's what that means in plain English. Let's say you have a knee, leg, hip, or back disabilities that are service connected. Any one of those could cause you to gain weight, maybe from medications, maybe from lifestyle changes, or simply the inability to exercise or be as mobile as you would otherwise be, leading to packing on the pounds. That weight gain leads to obesity, and that obesity causes sleep apnea. To be clear, simple excess of weight is not the same thing as obesity. Obesity is a recognized medical condition, and a few extra pounds here and there doesn't necessarily equal obesity. Okay, so we've got the legal foundation. Now let's talk about the science. VA loves medical evidence, and this connection is rock solid. Let's start with a common misperception. Sleep apnea is not a sleeping disorder. It's a breathing disorder. That confusion likely comes from its name, sleep apnea. So things like nightmares, waking up during the night, difficulty falling asleep, or excess movement while sleeping are not sleep apnea. The word apnea means paused breathing. So sleep apnea is when your breathing pauses while you're asleep. It's that simple. There are three types of sleep apnea: obstructive, central, and mixed. Obstructive sleep apnea is caused by a blockage in the airway when throat muscles relax too much. This is often associated with snoring or gasping while sleeping. Central sleep apnea is when the brain doesn't send the right signals to the muscles that control breathing. And mixed sleep apnea is just that, a mixture between both obstructive sleep apnea and central sleep apnea. For the rest of this episode, we'll primarily be talking about obstructive sleep apnea. When you gain weight, especially around your neck, several things occur that make sleep apnea almost inevitable. First, fat gets deposited around your pharynx. That's your throat area. Studies show that excess fat in the neck may contribute to cause sleep apnea. That fat literally squeezes your airways. Second, your body tries to compensate when you're awake by working your throat muscles harder. But when you fall asleep, those muscles relax and your airway collapses. The numbers don't lie. If your body mass index increases by just 5.3 points, your risk of sleep apnea goes up fourfold. And here's the kicker. By some estimates, 45% of obese adults have sleep apnea. That's nearly half. Men and women typically exhibit different sleep apnea symptoms. Men typically exhibit loud, chronic snoring, which is often the most prominent and disruptive symptom. Paused breathing, which is usually witnessed by an intimate partner at night. Gasping or choking during sleep, resulting in abrupt wakenings and feeling breathless. And excessive daytime sleepiness, which can be an overwhelming urge to sleep during the day. In women, the symptoms are typically different. They include fatigue and lack of energy that is not relieved by sleep. Insomnia, including difficulty falling asleep, staying asleep, or frequently awakening during the night. Waking up with morning headaches that often subside during the day. Increased feelings of depression, anxiety, and irritability. And restless leg syndrome, which is an urge to move the legs, particularly in the evening or at night. And our female veterans have other special considerations. We'll discuss those later in the episode. So now that we understand the basic science, let's talk money. Before I get into the ratings and compensation rates for sleep apnea, I'd like to thank Vetis Legal for its sponsorship of this podcast. If you or anyone you know needs help with their VA compensation claims, give them a call at 1-508-205-2503 or go to vetislegal.com. That's VETUSLEGAL.com. And let the folks at Vetis Legal know that you heard about them here on the Vets with Benefits podcast. All right, now let's talk dollars and cents, because that's what we're really here for. The information I'm about to give you about VA's ratings for sleep apnea is current as of August 2025. However, the VA proposed changes to the rating criteria for sleep apnea, and those proposals are still pending approval. So as always, double check to ensure that the law hasn't changed. The VA rates sleep apnea under diagnostic code 6847, and there are currently 4 possible ratings. 0%. You have sleep apnea, but it has no symptoms. This is rare, but it happens. 30%. Persistent daytime sleepiness that affects your daily activities. We're talking about struggling to stay awake at work, falling asleep during conversations, that kind of thing. 50%. And this is the big one, folks. This is what you get if you require a CPAP machine or other breathing assistance devices. And this is a common rating for veterans with sleep apnea. And finally, 100%. This is for severe cases with chronic respiratory failure, pulmonary heart disease, or if the veteran requires a tracheostomy. This is rare, but it exists. Now, let's talk about the proposed changes to the rating criteria. Those changes appear to make it much harder to get that 50% rating. Under the proposed rules, to get a 50% or higher rating, one of 2 things would have to exist. Either a veteran's sleep apnea would have to be so severe that treatment is ineffective, or the veteran cannot use treatment due to other conditions. If your sleep apnea is not that bad, the next rating below 50% is 10%, significantly lower. So it's clear that veterans that file claims under the current rules would likely get ratings far higher than they may get under the new criteria. So if you think you have sleep apnea, file your claim or appeals now. Under the current system, don't wait. That one rating for using a CPAP could get you halfway to a 100% overall disability compensation rating. So let's talk about getting that 100% rating. Here's where the rubber meets the road. Let's assume that you're service connected for a condition that then caused obesity, that then caused sleep apnea. Let's also assume that VA awards you a 70% rating for PTSD, 30% rating for obesity, and because you need a CPAP, 50% rating for the sleep apnea. Using that weird VA math, those individual ratings combine from highest to lowest as follows: 70% PTSD plus 50% for sleep apnea equals 85%. Don't round up yet. 85% combined with 30% for obesity equals exactly 90% overall combined rating. But even if you're only 50% for PTSD, the VA math combines these ratings to an 80% combined disability rating. That's pretty significant. And for this combination of disabilities, you meet what VA calls the scheduler requirements for total disability rating based on individual unemployability, which could entitle you to a 100% payment if your disability rating is lower than 100%. To be clear, in this example, the 30% for obesity didn't actually change the rating the veteran would have gotten without it. But if we were to add in a back disability, disabilities to both ankles and to both knees, all at 10% each, and these are all very common conditions that could be caused or aggravated by obesity, that would result in a 95% combined rating, which then rounds up to a solid 100% disability rating. So obesity contributes and makes it easier to get that 100% rating regardless of your employability. And you can do the same thing with your sleep apnea or any other service-connected condition. We're talking about potentially stacking multiple disability ratings together. There's no end to what conditions could be related to another condition, and each one could get you that much closer to that 100% rating. Okay, now let's talk about some techniques you can use to win your claim. For secondary service connection claim, that is sleep apnea caused or aggravated by your service-connected obesity, you need to establish several things, which I'll walk through here. Number one, you need to be already service-connected for your condition that caused your obesity. This could be PTSD, depression, orthopedic injuries that limited your mobility, medication side effects, whatever you think caused your weight gain. Number two, you need to prove both that you have obesity and that the underlying service-connected condition caused or aggravated your obesity. Then you also must prove that your obesity causes functional impairment of earning capacity. This is the key phrase from Adams. I talk more about what that means in the prior video, but simply stated, it's not lost wages. Rather, it's the effect on your ability to earn an income in civilian workforce due to your obesity and its effects on you. If you can establish this, then VA can find your obesity to be service-connected. Now, turning to sleep apnea, number three, you need to have a diagnosis of sleep apnea because without the disability, VA will not grant you compensation for it. Number four, you need a written medical opinion stating that your sleep apnea, at least as likely as not, was caused or aggravated by your obesity. Now, as a side note for any veterans not familiar with the VA system, in most circumstances after you file your claim, VA will assist you in obtaining the diagnosis and the nexus opinions for both obesity and sleep apnea. This can also include an opinion on whether obesity causes functional impairment of earning capacity. You don't need to go outside the VA system to get this evidence, and doing so could cost you thousands of dollars for opinions that VA is required by law to obtain for you for free. Of course, if VA's evidence hurts your claim, going outside the VA may be an appropriate option. Let me tell you about the mistakes I see veterans make in sleep apnea claims. Mistake number one, relying on the wrong legal theories. Look, folks, relying on Adams may not be the best way to show that your sleep apnea is service-connected. While that case created a powerful tool for establishing service connection for obesity, it does not replace the other theories of service connection for sleep apnea. Don't forget that if you had symptoms or a diagnosis of sleep apnea during your qualifying military service, you don't need obesity and another underlying condition to get your sleep apnea service connected. You can directly connect your sleep apnea to service without relying on any other conditions. Adams is a great tool to use when obesity also is service connected and the evidence shows that the obesity caused or aggravated your sleep apnea, but service did not. It's a fine but crucial distinction to keep in mind. Mistake number 2, giving up. I see this too often. Veterans just give up after the first denial. Listen, the Adams decision was just decided in July 2025. Many VA raters and board members haven't caught up yet to this new legal reality. And as of August 2025, we still don't know whether VA may appeal this decision or try to have it overturned. But you should still use this decision in your claims and appeals. Cite it specifically. Make VA address it. You can always go back and watch or listen to the episode where I discuss Adams more fully. Before we wrap it up, I need to spend some serious time talking to our women veterans because, as I mentioned earlier, sleep apnea typically affects you differently. Women veterans, listen closely because this is critically important. Sleep apnea in women is dramatically underdiagnosed and undertreated. The medical research shows that women with sleep apnea often present with different symptoms than men, and these symptoms are frequently missed or misattributed to other conditions. Here's what you need to know. While men with sleep apnea typically present with loud snoring and paused breathing while sleeping, women often experience more subtle symptoms: insomnia, morning headaches, fatigue, mood changes, anxiety, depression. Sound familiar? These are often brushed off as stress or hormonal issues, and they could be signs of sleep apnea. And here's the problem: because women's sleep apnea symptoms are different, you're likely to be misdiagnosed or go years without proper diagnosis. Studies show that women with sleep apnea are twice as likely to be diagnosed with depression or anxiety before anyone even thinks to test for sleep apnea. Women veterans, you need to be your own advocate here. If you're experiencing fatigue, mood issues, morning headaches, difficulty concentrating, ask for a sleep study. Don't let anyone tell you that it's just stress or just menopause. The connection between obesity and sleep apnea is the same, regardless of gender. When you're building your claim, document everything. For example, how your weight gain started during or after service, how your mental health affects your eating patterns, and how your sleep apnea affects your work and daily activities, perhaps from lethargy. You can also use your medical treatment records to show the progression from service-connected conditions to weight gain to sleep apnea. In any event, don't let anyone, including that little voice inside your head, minimize your symptoms because they're different from typical male sleep apnea. Sleep apnea, regardless of how it manifests or the symptoms it exhibits, may entitle you to compensation. Full stop. All right, veterans, let's bring this home. We've covered a lot of ground here today, but here's what I want you to remember. The legal pathway from service-connected obesity to sleep apnea disability benefits is real. Medical science is overwhelming. Obesity causes sleep apnea through several well-documented mechanisms. And the VA rating system, while complex, can provide significant monthly compensation for this condition. And don't forget, you have to act, but you don't have to do this alone. These claims can be complex, and having help from a VA-accredited representative can greatly increase your chance of success. And as always, I cannot guarantee any particular results. No attorney can. And your chance of success is largely dependent on the unique facts of your case. Everyone's case is different, but the one thing I can say definitively is that VA won't grant you benefits if you don't claim them. Filing new claims now before the law potentially changes could help ensure you get the benefit of the more favorable current version of the rating criteria for sleep apnea. And finally, connecting your sleep apnea to obesity could just be that missing link that ensures that you can breathe easy, knowing you're getting the compensation you deserve. That's all for today's episode of Vets with Benefits. You're part of a growing community of veterans eager to learn more about maximizing their benefits. What did you think about today's episode? Did you learn anything useful? Did I miss anything? Or is there something you'd like for me to talk about? Let me know in the comments. As always, if you found this episode helpful, like, subscribe, and share this with anyone you think might find it useful. And thanks. Hey everyone, thanks for listening. As a quick reminder, yes, I am a lawyer, but I am not your lawyer unless we already agreed to work together. While the things we talk about on this podcast may be legal in nature, it is not legal advice. If you need a lawyer, you should reach out to a qualified, licensed attorney in your area. This podcast and all of its content are owned by BSCC Media, LLC. Thanks for listening.